confusion, detestation, deception, disbelief, love, and dismay. Trust in man is deadly. Your close friend, your worst enemy. The Burning Spear. Burning Spear, a story of multi-identity, suspense-filled, educative, and entertaining. The Burning Spear. Come on, let's go.
Nowhere. It's just a bunch of prejudices about the different communities, but nothing substantial about the cause of the conflict.
It is becoming expensive to have you there.
If it was you that lost your brother, would you do it?
Family Ties, a thorn in the flesh.
To be seeing my daughter every day is not small money.
The doctor, when he's concerned,
My pocket is never afraid. I will do everything. Imagine on the name you and then I try.
Yeah, I don't like anything that has to do with jazz. Oh my God.
Come, you be like say hungry, never why are you rich, Abby?
You know nothing about it.
Hello, good morning, and thanks for joining us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television, AIT. I am Adora Onyecher.
I am Senam Yoshimukha. I say a very big welcome to you this morning. It's good to be with you again this beautiful Friday morning.
Well, today, like I say, is a Thank God It's Friday edition of the program, but I always say that because I know that it's coming to that time of the weekend where a lot of people will be tuned in and be watching Kaakaki this morning, because of course it's that time you let your hair down. Today being the 4th of May 2012, how time flies, Senami.
You can say that again.
So much activity this week.
You can say that again. Oh yes, just when we were recovering from the bombing of this day offices in Abuja and Kaduna, then comes the horrifying bombing of university students and lecturers in the Ado Bayero University, Kano, where 2 professors and doctors were killed. Wow, and now this.
Well, and as if those attacks were not enough, gunmen suspected to be members of the Boko Haram sect opened fire on traders in Putsikum cattle market early Thursday morning.
Wow. I saw the pictures, early this morning in the papers, and it was like, gathering of maybe goats and roasting them for a party. That was the way that the human bodies that were raised in that attack.
About 60 people raised like, barbecue.
Raised like barbecue, Adora. This is so sad. Sadly, about 56 people were killed at the last count. Adora, when will these Boko Haram people realize that killing innocent people will not help them achieve their objectivity in any way?
Well, Tsunami, apparently, some people suspect they beg to differ, because some said it was a reprisal attack. That actually, some story have it that in the afternoon, some robbers went to the market in Putsikum in Yobe State and wanted to steal and rob the cattle traders of their cattle, and they were stopped, and 2 of the robbers were killed in that attack, and so they ran away. So they feel that the robbers came back at night, because this attack happened at night, came back at night and set fire and opened up explosive and gunshots in the air. But it's too
what happened, like you said, yes, but I don't think that they were robbers. you know, from our reports, you know, it shows that some Boko Haram members had tried to, you know, detonate a bomb, which they did, but fortunately no one was hurt in that first attack.
Okay.
And then, you know, but one of the members of the sect was captured and killed, you know, by the traders. And like you said, they went back
for a reprisal,
and then came back for a reprisal attack. And of course, this time it was deadlier than the first time.
Yeah, as I said in the milk, it looked like, you know, butterflies had died. It was gruesome. On talk to the bird tsunami, we both know that these people are not in their right senses. Some people would say that they don't possess a heart, or probably they lack conscience. But anyway, kudos to the law enforcement authorities on their breakthrough this week with the capture of the mastermind of the BUK university bombings. I think that's a...
Yeah, that's a little cheering, but, you know, we would have checked for more if, you know, we didn't hear of this reprisal attack and this raising yesterday. It just kind of dampened your spirit and makes it look like, you know, the war against terrorism is not being won. But let's not dampen our spirits this morning. Well, whatever we do, we should just believe and trust that indeed there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Definitely.
I like to say that.
Definitely.
Anyway, the raidings of the sect's hideout in Bauchi, it certainly gives one some level of comfort that the security authorities are keeping the Boko Haram sect on their toes.
Well, away from Boko Haram matters, please. Let's make this Friday edition of this program a cheerful one. Let's take a recap at events of this week. Well, for starters, Chairman of Leadership Newspaper Chief Nda Isaiah clocked 50 years the Kaakaki of Newpay this week. Of course.
Yes, and yesterday also marked the World Press Freedom Day, and we had a very interesting interview. You know, we focused on how really is the Nigerian press, and our guest did tell us that Nigerian press is one of the freest in Africa as we speak, and that's a good thing, you know, compared to places like Ethiopia, where it is still considered treason.
And even Kenya.
And where it is still considered treason for a journalist to criticize the government in any way whatsoever. And the penalty if I'm guilty is death. At least in Nigeria, if that is the case, people come and say whatever they want to say.
But he still talks about, you know, classification of information and responsibility of information towards information, because he actually stressed the point, especially the Honorable, about the information on the internet, and called it quite irresponsible as against, you know, what we were thinking that China people have a way with internet social responsibility towards using the internet as a method of broadcast. But he says we have a culture, we are African, and we have a duty to protect, even in the process of doing our job as journalists, to protect our country as against what we see on the face of the media.
Also said, with freedom comes responsibility. So with all the freedom the Nigerian press is blessed with, well, it's not a privilege, like we also said yesterday. Everyone agreed that freedom to speak, freedom to write, freedom of press is not a privilege, it is a human right.
So now you know they say good news is bad news is good news, and you know he said if it bleeds, then it leaks. So I think, well, for journalism, I think a lot of bad stories make good stories, and that's why they make major headlines on front papers. But anyway, that's away from that. And if you've been following Kaakaki since Monday, well, you know that the fuel subsidy probe report is what we have been discussing since, except for yesterday when we discussed the World Press Freedom Day.
Yeah, well, ladies, today is for you, as our discussion segment will be on makeup, hair care, wellness, and spa. Surprised? Yes, the all very serious Kaakaki is taking, you know, some time out to focus on the ladies today. All of our viewers who love to pamper themselves and have a good time treating their, you know, stressed muscle. This particular edition is specially for you.
I can hear, you know, Naji from one of our emailers say, okay, I told you these ladies are going to turn this into an entertainment show. Well, this is not good entertainment. We're trying to actually help you in the midst of all the storm and the, you know, thrills and whatever has been happening this week to let you actually know that life has gone on and that Nigeria, we have one and a strong spirit. And ladies, I think you're in for grabs this Friday, and I'm sure that if you're not going to work, today happens to be your day off, then you're in for luck. Well, Pops Concept is organizing the first ever Abuja Makeup Fair, which will be debuting on May 5th, and there is a lot in store for those who will be attending the event. Lots of stuff.
Now, a lot of people, are stressed daily from work, especially women, if you're a career woman and you're also a family...
I love me my spouse.
And you're also a family woman, you have the kids to take care of, you have the husband to take care of, you also have a career that you're pursuing. Definitely. It's not always easy. Sometimes before the day ends, you wish you could just throw off your shoes and just find a place to rest and to lie down. And sometimes when you do, you still feel stressed. So, using the spa, getting some massage, it does help.
Are you telling me?
Don't worry. I know you. I know you. You are the expert when it comes to
No, you call it an addict.
An addict, yeah, that's more like it. Well, let's not let the cat out of the bag just yet. Today we will be featuring all of our usual segments. We have a cover story for today. We have sports. We have sports business, and lots and lots more. You know what all our segments are by now, and if you don't, well, that's why I will say, hold on tight. You find out what they all are.
Well, and just before we get started with the world news headlines, let me just tip you that your favorite show, Kaakaki, will be airing from the mean for some days next week.
Now, I look forward to that, don't you? Now, of course, like you must have heard in our news bulletins, the AIT,
commissioning of
Ray Power and the sister station, which is AIT. Ray Power kicked off on the 1st of May, and AIT is going to kick off in Benin on the 7th of May. We all look forward to that. So you want to keep your dial right here, because we will be bringing you Kaakaki live for a few days from Benin. Well, this is look forward to. Maybe we'll go and visit the Oba and do or have the Oba come to the studio. All
right, this is to commemorate the commissioning of AIT Benin, as you know, so you can't afford to miss next week Monday's edition. All right, enough already. Let's get started with the world news headlines, and maybe after that, I'm sure the ladies are gearing up to go. Just hold it down. Just hold it down.
All right, thanks for staying with us. The Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwal, says the lower legislative chamber will follow up on the report of the fuel subsidy regime probe to ensure its implementation by the executive. Tambuwal, who spoke while receiving leaders of the Nigeria Labour Congress, also gave an assurance that the parliament will not take away what the Nigerian constitution guarantees the citizens. Prosecutors in the trial of former Liberian President Charles Taylor have said he should be handed an 80-year sentence following his war crimes conviction in The Hague last week. In a brief, the team told the special court for Sierra Leone the extreme magnitude of the crimes he committed warranted the long-term sentence. The 64-year-old was found guilty on 11 counts, including rape and murder relating to the Sierra Leone civil war. He will be sentenced on the 30th of May. The European Union has imposed targeted sanctions on 6 school leaders in the West African country of Guinea-Bissau. They include a freeze on assets and a travel ban on the leaders who took part in on the 12th of April coup. The move comes as the West African region bloc ECOWAS meets in Senegal to discuss what other actions to take in Guinea-Bissau and Mali. ECOWAS had already imposed sanctions on Guinea-Bissau earlier this week. The country has seen many coups since independence from Portugal in 1974. Sudan has promised to cease hostilities with South Sudan and comply with a UN Security Council resolution. However, the Foreign Ministry also said that Khartoum reserve the right to respond to aggression from the south. The statement came hours after Juba alleged fresh bombing by the Khartoum government's forces. A UN resolution on Wednesday backed an African Union plan demanding both sides cease hostilities amid fears of an all-out war between the neighbors. The U.S. military says newly released papers from Osama bin Laden's hideout reveal a frustrated al-Qaeda leader struggling to control an unruly network. The document says during the raid on the Abbottabad compound were posted online by the research wing of the U.S. Military Academy, West Point. The papers show he was unhappy with affiliates' attacks on fellow Muslims, urging them to target the U.S. instead. 17 documents were released from a cache of more than 6,000. Chinese dissident Chen Guangcheng has telephoned a U.S. congressional hearing to plead for help in his attempts to leave China with his family. Chen said he feared for the safety of his family and wanted to meet visiting U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton face to face. The activist is in a Beijing hospital sealed off by Chinese police. He had spent a week at the U.S. Embassy but left after initially accepting China's assurances of his safety. Centrist leader Francois Bayrou has announced his support for socialist candidate François Hollande in Sunday's presidential election. Bayrou came fifth in the first round of voting, taking 9.1% of the vote. If his supporters join him in voting for Hollande, it will deal a significant blow to Nicolas Sarkozy's chances for re-election. Although Bayrou once served with the president in a right-wing cabinet, he says he has gone too far to the right. The head of the UN mission in Syria, Major General Robert Mood, said on Thursday that government forces must make the first move to end nearly 14 months of bloodshed after a watchdog said a security force raid on a university campus left 4 students dead. The veteran Norwegian peacekeeper in charge of the hard-won military observer mission overseeing a troubled UN-backed ceasefire made the call during a visit to Syria's third-largest city, Homs, which has seen some of the deadliest fighting of the conflict. The Syria Observatory for Human Rights said 4 students were killed and 28 wounded, 3 of them critically, when government forces and armed supporters stormed dormitories following a campus demonstration. All right, those were the news headlines. Kaakaki B African Voice continues in a moment. When we come back, we will bring you our cover story for today. Stay with us. I thank you so much for staying with us. Like I said, it's time for our cover story for today. As you know, yesterday was marked the World Press Freedom Day, but Adora is standing by to bring us the details of that cover story. Adora.
Thank you very much, Nami. How was it yesterday?
Oh, it was good. Realizing that indeed Nigeria, the Nigerian press is free to do its job. Very very free, quite free compared to other African countries. But a lot made me feel good.
A lot of the argument, like, we actually said from some journalists, was that the lack of appreciation for Nigerian journalists, especially in commending them for work well done. And we were saying even those in diaspora who cover major news on behalf of Africa have hardly been rewarded, but very achieve. But I think we need to start looking inward from Nigeria, because I believe that if we recommend and appreciate our own brands, more people would we get to going into the profession and, of course, being journalists.
I agree with you, Adora, but I believe it's one step at a time. We hope we get there like our international colleagues, but who we know are well protected, they have good life insurances, but we'll get there too, don't you think?
Well, I think that if we don't talk the talk, I think everybody will still be relaxed. And I think that, my cry out there to especially those who are in charge, especially the NUJ and, now International Association of Broadcasters for Africans, should actually take it upon themselves to look inward, especially in Nigeria. We say we are the ones who are fairly, away from criticisms and are allowing us to have a free voice. And I think we should be commended for it. Well, yesterday marked the World Press Freedom Day. Our cover story takes a look at the Freedom of Information law that came into existence almost 1 year ago. The law is meant to increase access to information held by public institutions as the world marks Press Freedom Day. Correspondent Amechi Anekwe reviews the effectiveness of the Freedom of the Information law. So let's take a look and see where he brings us.
The signing of the Freedom of Information Bill into law by President Goodluck Jonathan on May 28, 2011 ended 12 years of arguments and agitations for legal access to public information. Since 1999, some members of the civil society organizations and media practitioners, with the backing of some lawmakers in the National Assembly, had clamored for the law to be put in place. The FOI law, as it is more commonly called, guarantees access to information held by public institutions for members of the public on demand. Beyond the euphoria that greeted the enactment of the FOI law, and almost 1 year after it came into place, little thoughts have been spared on how effective the law has been. There have been few cases of individuals and organizations requesting for information from specific government agencies based on the FOI law. Almost all of them were outrightly ignored.
People always believe that, look, how can you be fighting your government? But that is not the issue, because all of us are government. And that's why we have to know, because without the people, there will be no government. So we should understand that this is not a fighting the government, but trying to act that the right thing should be done.
There are 16 items of proactive disclosure in the Act. And it is possible for departments to begin to do that. Get a proper department or officer or desk or unit responsible for access to information, and then begin to properly channel, manage the information that goes out. Get proper websites. Most public websites don't work.
The FOI law stipulates that some requests must be granted within 7 days if it meets certain criteria, with criminal liability for non-compliance. A rights advocacy group, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has been at the forefront of efforts to see to the smooth operations and enforcement of the FOI law. The group and some other organizations have dragged some government agencies to court over failure to provide for information requested based on the FOI law. The law empowers a court action if a request for information is denied. None of the cases in court is yet to be dispensed with. Judgments on them will help strengthen the Freedom of Information law. Some observers are, however, not surprised that most government agencies are yet to accede to requests for information based on Freedom of Information law.
The Official Secrets Act became law in Nigeria in 1911. We got an FOI Act in 2011. You're not going to change 100 years of history and attitudes in just 1 year.
The refusal of government offices to make information accessible to the public may not be unconnected with the absence of a clear guideline on how to process requests for information. The Attorney General of the Federation released the guideline in March 2012, 10 months after the law came into existence. It appears the public and the media are yet to take full advantage of the FOI law, going by the few requests for information on government agencies. Stakeholders insist the law is a means to an end and not an end in itself.
We spend so much energy and so much time in agitating for the law, but we didn't put in corresponding time in educating people on how well we can actually use it. And so I think that's what is going on now. A lot of effort and emphasis is being placed on how to educate people, both the civil society, the media, and also the various agencies that will be using this law.
We realize that there is need for sensitization and enlightenment on the part of the media and quite a number of Nigerians to even understand the content of the Freedom of Information Act. You can count even the number of journalists who have read the Freedom of Information Act.
Part of the expectations on the FOI law is that the associated increased public interest on activities of government will help stem corruption. Recent revelations from the parliamentary probe of the pensions and oil subsidy funds indicate that corruption is on the increase in Nigeria. Even with the existence of the FOI law, the government has continued to clamp down on the media. Early this year, security agents closed down the media center, the presidential wing of the Muritala Mohammed Airport in Lagos, denying journalists access to very important personnel using the terminal. Also in 2011, the police invaded the premises of the Nation newspapers in Abuja in a Gestapo manner and arrested its editors over what it called publication of sensitive news reports.
And we thought that with the passage of the Freedom of Information Act as it is now, a conducive environment should be given by the owners of the media and government. But unfortunately, the atmosphere is not there. We are operating under a very harsh condition as it is today.
It appears the rate of public access to information about government's activities is a major determinant of the level of corruption and standard of living in a country. The Freedom of Information law is in place in about 85 countries across the world. Corruption is quite low in most of these countries, while standard of living is high. Greater enforcement of the law in Nigeria may fetch similar dividends.
Okay. Adora, you have an axe to grind. Before we took that cover story, I remember after the show yesterday, we were talking about, the fact that even though the Nigerian press is quite free to an extent, there is the fact that the job, people take what we do for granted.
Definitely.
And sometimes when things go wrong,
that's what I was trying to tell you there. And I was wondering, okay.
Everyone seems to think that, at some point you're blamed. Just like Benga said yesterday, the chairman of NUJ Zone H chapter, he did say that, we're not appreciated. Like right now, we're going around targeting the media, saying that the media is misrepresenting them. The government at the same time saying that the media is over-celebrated them. So, on both sides,
everybody's pushing them head, south, and east. But I think it's, of course, it's not a surprise. It's expected that somebody must be blamed for something, and if anybody, it will be the media, especially print media, because they're the ones that bring it out first. And people, the masses, the grassroots, that's what they relate to more. In fact, just looking at the pictures, they summarize what the news is about without even reading the news. But anyway, I guess that that's one of the things that should be looked into.
Yes, indeed.
And it's interesting talking about the media, and we talking about media and the full subsidy probe report. Just I think about early hours of this morning or yesterday, Minister of Justice Adokabelo saying that, of course, that the report was just a fact-finding mission and that no action will be taken so far until all the investigation bodies do a thorough investigation, harmonized version, and painstaking. You look sad, and
I'm just bored with it. That's the truth. Because tell me something new. What's different? I mean, this is what everyone is saying. Oh, yeah, the reports are out. Let's say they do the right thing.
Finally, like, okay, what happens to the people indicted? What happens to persecution?
Exactly. Does it change the fact that some facts have been found already? Why not do something about those facts while you continue on whatever fact-finding mission you're trying to embark on all over again?
You know what? I think the argument here is that it hasn't gotten, the report hasn't gotten to the executive arm of the government. And until it does, you know, they would have to wait on it and sit on it and just go through all of that processes. And I just think that, you know, for the sake, and he was going ahead to buttress the point about, you know, the Save Nigerian group saying that they will protest after 2 weeks if nothing has been done or nobody has been persecuted. And he was saying that they shouldn't use that as the arm of law in the Nigerian polity and distract Nigerian people, that we have enough problem as it is already. But I'm thinking that this is only going to compound it.
Again, Adora, my reaction is, tell me something new. What's new? This is always there's always an excuse, there's always an angle, there's always a reason why they can't prosecute.
And put there's always,
there's always a reason to, be calm, don't worry, we will do this, we will do that. I think Nigerians are tired of being told, we will. When will you do what you're saying, what you're mouthing all the time?
You know, so now when you say that it's cliche, I don't totally disagree with you, because look at the Hembi and Rumote.
Now
we can just hear whispers of it.
You hear whispers, I don't hear anything.
Now, you know, I'm wondering, you know, it's really a custom in Nigeria. That is why the Transformation International would talking about this yesterday.
Yes, just yesterday.
Yeah,
the threatened to sue Nigeria
for too much corruption cases. I mean, imagine that.
That the corruption cases are so many that they can't keep up with it, you know, that they have to deploy some of their staff from different countries, Australia, Poland, and have them come to Nigeria and check the standard of, wow.
And, you know, the complaint, actually, one of the complaints was that, you know, somehow the elites and the politicians and the polity are trying to thwart the method in which they operate, and they're saying that we have already started and invested too much time here. So I think that if you're going to have to stop, then we're going to have to sue you, Nigeria. Oh, wow. Anyway, it's now time for headline reminders. When we get back, there's a special report, special feature waiting for you. Stay tuned. Good morning to you. This is Kaakaki, the African Voice. Now we are talking about prostitution in the next specific feature, and nobody else better to take this up than Sana. Tell us about it and your work so far.
You know, Adora, that prostitution is, a lot of times people say that they're forced into it, although I think that there are some people who, you know, willingly, knowingly go into it for whatever reason that they do. And for sometimes I have had to, you know, cover the efforts of the FCT administration, and the Social Development Secretariat for their work in rehabilitating ex-prostitutes and all of that. But it doesn't change the fact that there are still people who are being deceived, especially outside the shores of Nigeria, and forced into prostitution.
You know, you did show me a video on an outrageously creepy, gory video that I mean, of somebody.
We can't even dare to air that video. It's too gory. It's too gory. Anyway, let's go straight and see what our special package. Of course, if you're just joining, you're watching Kaakaki, the African Voice, and it's the Thank God It's Friday edition. But anyway, I know that we're gonna miss you once the weekend begins. Anyway, now we bring you another special feature, and it takes a look at women who were tricked into believing that plum jobs awaited them outside the shores of Nigeria, but sadly, it was prostitution instead. These women relieved the horrors they went through in the hands of their pimps. This special feature also examines how government agencies like NAPTIP are checking the scourge. Our correspondent, Osi Lama, brings us all of the details. Let's join him.
Like thousands of victims of sex slavery, Mary and Rose were lured by the prospect of a better life abroad. Both women, married with children, left their families in a remote part of Isoko area of Delta State, South Nigeria, in search of greener pasture.
My sister sent for us to go and meet him in Benin. He said this man, who they call Lucky, won't take us to outside Nigeria to go and search supermarkets.
After a long and arduous journey by road, the women were nowhere near Europe, their supposed destination.
Because from Lagos, we enter Cotonou motor. So when we reach Cotonou, we sleep Cotonou for 5 days. So when we start the journey, the same motor. So I asked Lucky, say, Lucky, no be plane. Now they go outside Nigeria, why would they use motor? So Lucky tell me, say, now shortcut. So this place that would they pass, so now in short.
In Abidjan, the Ivorian capital, Mary and Rose were cut off from home. Greener pasture way beyond reach. This was when the nightmare really began.
Lucky told us, no any supermarket. So now shower walk. Now he carry us come walk. So he go kill us unless we walk that walk to pay him 850,000 CFA. So we started working. I worked 350,000 CFA.
Now he beat me because I tell her, say, I don't want to do the work again. Say, I won't go back to my village. He got tell me, say, I want to use the monitor on. I slap, and they hold me for neck, push me. He slapped me for my ear. So now I got the cry. Only because he used police to arrest us.
Despite their 2-month ordeal, Mary and Rose are the lucky ones. Their case got to officers of the Ivorian police force who were not collaborators in the profitable trade of trafficking in women.
So this I said for everything 4 days. So from there, got to my statement. Now they call Nigeria embassy. We call the beg them, say, make them deport us to Nigeria. So we don't want to walk that walk again.
Last year, 93 Nigerian women were rescued by the country's anti-trafficking agency, NAPTIP, from sex camps in Mali alone. In August 2010, Human Rights Watch called on Nigeria and the Ivorian authorities to investigate and close down growing networks that traffic Nigerian women to Cote d'Ivoire for forced prostitution.
It is one of the major challenges we are facing here. I'm putting heads with the host authorities to see how we can put a stop to this.
Despite these, the Nigerian authorities still see Cote d'Ivoire and other West African countries as just transit posts for trafficking in women.
Like all other West African countries, a lot of the victims get stranded and then are forced into prostitution while they are there on the promise that when they make enough money, then they can move on to the next country and then on to Europe. So it's not just Cote d'Ivoire. We have issues like that in Burkina Faso, Senegal, Mali, Ghana, and a few other countries along the West African sub-region.
Countries like Cote d'Ivoire trafficking laws and which have yet to ratify a UN trafficking protocol are safe haven for human trafficking networks.
But unfortunately, since we are encouraging the integration and free movement of persons, and goods, in the sub-region, this makes it a little bit difficult for us, to track down those who are doing this, who are engaged in this human trafficking.
Mary and Rose may be free and getting ready to reunite with their families, but many Nigerian women in forced prostitution are not that lucky. While Nigeria concentrates on Italy and other European countries, forced prostitution with Nigerian women as victims thrives in neighboring states.
It is pathetic, it is disgusting that, you know, shortcut by road. So how lame is that? You know, flying is supposed to bridge the distance, and you tell somebody shortcut by road and say, okay. I mean, no, it's not, it's just...
Adora, calm down. Now, of course, they know the kind of women that they pick. Now, these are rural women who have little or no education.
And ignorant.
Very ignorant women. You convince them that you're taking them to the UK, for instance, and you tell them that it's shortcut by road through Cotonou. And when you fly, it's actually about it's a 6-hour journey, and you spend 2 months trying to get to Europe, and you're still not like, excuse me, what's happening? Why do we have to go to Cotonou in the first place? I think it's two ways. These women too have to be very careful. When someone comes and says that there's greener pasture on the other side, you don't have to do anything, you're going to work. Now you have to consider the fact that he has to get you passports, he has to pay your transportation there, he has to get you probably an accommodation when you get there. Don't assume that he's doing that because he likes you. He doesn't give anything, he doesn't care about you. So for him to spend all that money to transport you to whatever country he's promised it's also because, you know, he has something to gain from you.
So
he has
an expert in this. I know this is your field, but you know, of course you must know that those crossings are illegal crossings. There is little or no passport, you know, because how would you be crossing legally and you'd be spending 5 days in Cotonou for the next day, probably just to check what the security field or fee is like before you cross to the next country, and then you tell somebody they owe you 850,000 cefas, you know, and for taking them through, you know, from Isoko to Lagos to Isoko to Benin to Lagos to Cotonou. Even if I went around that way, how much would it cost you normally? Because I know that, you know, if you get to Lagos State, say from Badagry to get to Cotonou, it's just about I think about 1,800 naira. Nigerian naira from Badagry, 1,800 naira. I know because I've been there by road. And it's not that, it didn't take me more than 2 to 3 hours to get to Cotonou from Badagry. And I'm wondering, 800,000 cefas. You know, and I'm gutted and absolutely bitter, not even at the man, but at the auntie who offered the job to those women and say, oh, my auntie called me from Benin and say, job, the supermarket attendant, that is blood, that is somebody related to you. And already she's probably being paid to deliver those 2 women to the pimp.
Oh, of course, she's been paid heavily.
You know?
And of course, it has to be someone they trust. Remember, you as a stranger can't just walk up to a woman and say, you know what, follow me, I want to take you here. Of course, naturally, the human first instinct is to say, no, I don't know you from Adams. But they use those that these people trust, an aunt, a sister, an uncle, somebody in the family. They pay that person, deceive these women and lure them. Okay, these are women. Adora, hold on a bit. Now, these are older women who, some of them have kids. I'm not saying it makes it any better, but imagine underage girls, 16, 15, 12. Being told to their parents were lied to and told that they're going to help them, they'll go to school, they have scholarship, they do this, they do that. And these girls get there. Girls who've probably never been with a man, do not know what it means
to be with a man.
To be with a man and are forced into prostitution, just like that, and no one seems to be able to do anything for these girls.
I think, you know, this shows the level and the height of poverty in Nigeria, and of course the economic decline, because I know that it is poverty that can only drive somebody with so much desperation. I mean, it's worse that it was an auntie that introduced the person, but what about the role of the family? Come on. come on. I mean, somebody comes and says, oh, I want to take your wife to Europe and maybe make her a supermarket attendant. Like you said, they are ignorant, they are uneducated. Even in Thailand, I think it's even worse off in Thailand, where the girl child, I mean, an underage child as young as 12 is made a prostitute in her father's house. The father brings in men to sleep with her, and then they pay the father for the money they're supposed to, and, you know, this is, if you check statistics, on the cover, on the G, you know, they have one of the highest influx of HIV in East Asia.
Yeah,
so,
and child prostitution is very high in that part of the world.
It's really sick.
You know, in 2010, when the FCT administration began this war against street prostitution, because of course you know that there are those, like I said earlier, who do not mind, who have taken it as their profession. They tell you is the oldest profession in the world, you know, dates back to...
Oh, that's the seat, profession.
That's what they call it, and they have chosen to do this, and they want to do it. And, you know, under the Nigerian law, it is not a crime, especially if you're not an underage. It is not a crime. Also, if you're not being forced, if you allow, if that is what you want to do with your body, it's up to you. But the FCT administration, you know, did say that they didn't want these girls littering the streets. And I must say that the Social Development Secretary, Blessing Onu, you know, took it a step further, because when these girls were arrested, everyone, including the press, everyone was angry. Okay, you've taken them off the streets. What do you want to do with them? Where do you want to keep them? What's the next plan? And, you know, she did go ahead and, you know, started a women rehabilitation center somewhere in Lube. And these girls are being repentant commercial sex workers are there as we speak, acquiring skills.
Skill acquisition.
Skills acquisition.
Some of them are even parents.
Yeah, some of them are parents. There was a particular story of a young lady who gave birth, to a beautiful, lovely child. You know, and she was so happy to have been given the opportunity to take her child and herself out of that kind of situation. You should hear their story. I interviewed a few of them, almost all of them who agree to come out of the street were forced either because of poverty. They came to Abuja trying to be working as house help. And maybe their bosses, their madam's husbands start molesting them, and then from there they start doing it for money, and then before you know it, they end up prostitution. But now that they see that they have a choice, those ones come out. But those who do it for the fun of it, for the greed of it, for the money.
Well, so I think another thing is that, you know, one thing that some of these agencies have been able to do is try to eradicate some of the hot spots. You know, we were talking about certain
red light zones.
Yes, and, you know, I remember quite, you know, there was a time back there, I think I was a bit younger then, I used to hear people talk about a place in Lagos called Allen Avenue. Allen Avenue, don't go to Allen Avenue. You know, Allen Avenue is not for children. You know, at certain times, you know, people don't drive by that area, but you know, such places you can barely hear places like that. Even I'm sure there are other red light zones, but I'm not conversant with them. But I think that's one of the things that the government has been able to do so far, and actually helping. I think charity begins at home.
It does begin at home.
I think that they should take this education and you know, what I call it, a revamp of especially the girl child, and knowing that.
But I must tell you, Adora, that in my following this story of taking prostitutes out of the streets of the FCT, one of the red light zones is somewhere Gambia Street, area 11. Gambia Street in area 11, Zone 4 Junction by Sheraton. To mention a few.
I've heard of that one.
Exactly, you know, and during some of the raids, you find young girls, 16, 17, 18, who are into prostitution. You know, the most amazing thing, I remember one of those nights about 2 a.m. when I was on the press crew, you know, that went to cover that particular raid. We discovered the ages range from as old as 45, some of them 50, to as young as 15. I am telling you, Adora. And guess what? The most disturbing part of it is, after getting these girls off the street and taking them to the Social Development Secretary, that's good. Some of them made calls, and guess what? Some big shots up there, out there, they all have one general, one senator, one House of Rep members.
Of course.
They are all calling, and some of them are calling and telling the policemen, release that girl right away, release this one right away. If you don't release them, you see this, you see. I was amazed. So you see that some of them are encouraged to do this by the men. The truth is, if men do not patronize these girls, they won't have this job to do.
They have to find them before they patronize them, and I think that the message in the campaign is actually getting them off the street. I was telling you about some sort of, how do you put it here on the G documentary I did, like I dressed like a prostitute, and I went out to the street and I was talking to this lady, and she was like, I don't go talk to you, be journalist. I said, I'm not a journalist, I'm not a journalist. Talk to me, I want to know, what did happen? I said, why you there? And she was like, no, my mama get 10 children, I meet the days all of them, and they go school, and they pay their school fees, money no come join, this one, that one. Her pidgin was really deep. I think she must probably have been from Warri. So I was trying to catch her. She was like, no, this woman, I know they talk now, but your pidgin no pia, but leave me, But I was able to get her age, I was able to get where she lives. She said they live in a room, the whole lot of them live in one room, and you can't even imagine, in an uncompleted building that has no electricity, no window. So you're wondering the amount of mosquito and the amount of malaria in that house, and of course malnutrition. So I wonder how and what I think the government should focus on actually finding the age range of these people and doing a mass re-education, because if not, it carries on.
Now, most of the time, our social welfare system is not very, very, very supportive, you know. But there are a few, however, who are doing everything that they can, especially for the underage girls who are on the streets, who are being used by some of these pimps and even some of the older women. Because it is this older women. Exactly, madams. Because they know their time is running out. They want to continue to remain in the business, and so they bring younger girls that are under their own control and get men for them. Now, this situation cannot continue. That's why, we keep saying that the government needs to do more about the eradication of poverty. We can continue to mouth.
Even parents, and so now, there was a place at Commerce Crescent, I don't want to mention a house, a whole, like a duplex, a whole upstairs and downstairs where girls, only females, lodged, and it was found out that all of them were into, we'll call it high-class prostitution, bankers by day, students by day, at night prostitution, and it was raided because one of the students, the mother had been looking for her for a while, and unfortunately she was being trailed and she didn't know, and they found out there, and that's how they involved the police. And I think one of the things is that charity should at least begin at home. Your child is carrying a BlackBerry, you cannot afford it. Who gave her the BlackBerry? She's traveling first class, going abroad, and she said, Mommy, I'm going to Paris. Who is taking you to? You sit her down, but no. Oh, my child is traveling all around the world. And
you yourself just talked about parents who bring in these days, especially in some parts of Edo State now, they say, see what your mates they do. Your mates, they are abroad, they send money, they build houses, they buy motor for their family. You sit down here, aren't you just useless? And
the desperation to actually want to do this gets on them.
These parents do not ask the other parents, waiting your daughter they do for Obodo Yibo, where they make all this money, where they send come. Which work do they do? All they see is that the next family is doing better. The father now drives a jeep. The mother owns a big supermarket. They just built a fantastic
of the daughter.
A fantastic duplex, and they know that all they know is that the family is doing better. And then the next mother say, you just stay here. I get thinking like say I know.
You know what?
You
I think we have to take the next future. You know what I would just say is every choice has a price. Every choice has a price, and the price that you pay is up to you. And so, like we say, I think look inwards. Charity begins at home. And if you're out there and you're thinking, okay, time is running out, my mates are all made it, I'm not getting any younger, I need to drive this, I need to make, even the men, there are men gigolos these days who actually service women. So it's not just the women or the girls. So it's not a woman's thing anymore. So please, to be forewarned, and of course there are diseases out there. So I think you should just remember that your life is worth living before you throw it all away. Now we'll go to internet. Now we're talking the internet. Now we're going to the global village for our special feature, and it's about the word today, being a global village, and of course filled with all kinds of cyber words. Now friendships, relationships, marriages, political actions, and all sorts. Just name it. the internet can get you started. If you want to find love on Facebook, on Matchmake, or there's one they call areawo.com where you matchmake, and then blind date. If you want to, it's on Yahoo, all those Twitter, Facebook, BlackBerry, Messengers, MySpace, Gmail, all of them. The list is almost endless. Now, the world is now connected by just a mobile phone. Our next special feature takes a look at how African youths are using the internet to find their voice. That, at least, is interesting and positive. Let's take a look.
Right now, today, being put up in major cities all over the world.
Uganda, reaction to the film has been mixed.
Our goal is to get Kony's name known. The known should join us. Get Kony's name known.
Like indicted war criminals to enjoy the same level of celebrity as me. That seems fair. That's our objective, is to just shine a light on it.
If our goal is to get Kony's name known, but tell everyone we could about Jacob and the invisible children. Show this movie to as many people as possible in such a way that we can't be ignored. Did it ourselves, with our time, talent, and money. So we rebuilt schools.
The best then you take us there in the
do. Too often, we did nothing. We cared.
They've turned people's problems into their businesses. And it's unfortunate that we can have people who are merchandising but using people's problems.
You have to be careful what it is that you want to say on Twitter as well. So be it if you're on a business level, on using it as a medium for business, you could say something to your detriment if it is that you are too outspoken on Twitter, because news spreads like wildfire.
Democracy in this country. And before we start,
Years. If they knew, Kony would have been stopped long ago.
So it's changing the way Kenyans think of themselves, the way they think of their leaders, and their ability to engage with their leaders, both positively and negatively. So this kind of meeting is important in that it stresses on mitigating and focusing on the positive.
good morning to the people who don't come to my church. You are in trouble. But I also what are the ministry? The theme of the story. You know, with credible. To suppose you eliminate.
I thought the world was ending only yesterday. All the news on the TV made me wanna pray. Everyone was fighting, trying to make more money, war and disease, and the useless celebrity. Beba, beba, you don't have to pay a thing. Beba, beba, come and join the family. Beba, beba, the
internet.
Although I must apologize for the loss of audio in that report. That's not the way the report goes. I've seen that report before, and that report is one of the most powerful reports that I have seen using the internet, to fight a cause and have almost every important celebrity in the U.S.
get involved. But at the point they said they were overdoing it and actually making him a celebrity and a messiah of some sort, because I'm talking about Coney, and I believe that somehow the media has a way of making the infamous popular. You know what I mean? Even in the fight for the Boko Haram insurgency that we're talking about, you saw what the journalist said. But I think it's come si. I think that for the fact that people are aware and then they know, and that's what matters.
I was just going to say that, because at the end of the day, what is the purpose? Is the purpose achieved? The purpose is to make the cause of finding Coney, popular. Let's get the word out. This man is a terrorist. This man is a killer, is a murderer, is a rapist, and has gone into hiding for that. By the time the whole world knows that he's a wanted man, that helps. Although some Africans believe that these people have made the search for Coney, have turned it into their own businesses. Which may not be a lie, from the truth, it may not be far from the truth, because of course you see people who banners are made, T-shirts
and
are
people
made.
want to buy the banners.
Exactly, and people want to buy the T-shirts, wanted Coney.
All right, in force to leave all of that and go to Inside Nigeria. Top of the hour, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. The Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Aminu Tambuwal, says the lower legislative chamber will follow up on the report of the fuel subsidy regime probe to ensure its implementation by the executive. Tambuwal, who spoke while receiving leaders of the Nigerian Labour Congress, also gave an assurance that the Parliament will not take away what the Nigerian Constitution guarantees the citizens.
Was saying that the report of the House, the probe, lacks credibility. It lacks credibility because only some individuals were focused on, and some other individuals were not mentioned. I said to myself, aha, good. If the executive knows some other individuals that ought to have been brought up in this report, now we'll watch and ask them to come up with those people.
The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mohammed Adoke, has called on Nigerians who are concerned about the revelations arising from the fuel subsidy probe to be patient and await action by appropriate agencies. The Attorney General was reacting to calls by the public for the immediate prosecution of those indicted in the report of the House on fuel subsidy. Adoke explained that Nigerians must allow the law enforcement agencies to conduct proper investigations to ensure that the standard proof of evidence required in criminal cases is obtained to be tendered in court. The Attorney General said the ultimatum given by some groups and the threat to embark on demonstrations and strike will only compound the problem and also divert attention. Human Rights Writers Association wants the government to take immediate steps to address the incessant killings of innocent Nigerians who fall victim in the several bombings by the Islamic sect Boko Haram. The body made the call on Thursday in Abuja while visiting the National Human Rights Commission, where it expressed concern over the increasing spate of human rights violation due to poor enforcement. The executive director of the association, Emmanuel Owumbiko, also raised alarm over the incessant reports
rape in the country. Onwubiko said the endemic rate of the crime now required an amendment of the laws on rape so that prosecuting and bringing suspects to justice will no longer be as clumsy as it is now.
Its statutory role by compiling records of these violations, name and shame the violators, and bring the violators to justice. The National Human Rights Commission should set up help desks in all public and private universities to assist persons that may have encountered sexual harassment from their lecturers.
Regarding the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Ben Anegwe, highlighted the need to establish anti-corruption units as this will strengthen the organization.
That the Commission cannot achieve it alone. Therefore, bodies such as yours that have taken the time, that have put aside all other things, and are committed towards assisting the Commission in the discharge of its statutory duties must be commended.
The leader of the delegation also said there is need to partner with them in some areas. The Minister of Interior, Abba Moro, has called on Nigerians to remain resolute in their support for President Goodluck Jonathan's administration as the federal government is doing everything possible to address the current security challenges in the country. At two separate receptions held in his honor by Edumoga and Okpoga communities in Okpoku, local government of Benue State, the minister said both diplomatic and technology means are being explored by government to curtail criminal activities and terrorism across the border. Abba Moro said the federal government has stepped up diplomatic relations with governments of neighboring countries to explore bilateral relations on security to ensure that criminal elements do not move freely from other countries to Nigeria. He said government is also working on modalities to ensure that Nigeria's borders are closely monitored with the use of modern communication gadgets to track nefarious activities and movements across the borders. A federal high court in Abuja has granted a request to try separately one of the October 1st, 2010 bombings, Edmond Ebuwari. Justice Gabriel Kolawole granted the application by counsel to the accused, Ogenevo Otemo, that his trial with the other accused persons would be a distraction for his defense. The accused has repeatedly maintained that he was wrongly charged with the other accused in respect of the Independence Day bombing in Abuja. Ebuwari was specifically accused of withholding information. Others standing trial on the bombing are Charles Oka and Obi Nwabweze, while the fourth accused, Kefa Osowo, died in Kuje prison recently. The matter has been adjourned to May 19 for trial. Operators in the Nigerian telecommunication industry have called on the federal government to quickly wade into the crisis between the Nigerian Communications NCC and Environmental Standards Regulatory Agency, NESRA, to put an end to the disruption of communication services across the country. They made the call in Lagos at the Stakeholders Forum.
We do not expect this kind of conflict between two statutory regulatory bodies. As an industry, the telecom industry is under the auspices of the NCC.
They are mindful of the implication to the consumers. But I think before government should take any government agency for that matter, before they should take any action, they should consider the implication of that their action to consumers, to the people. And there should be steps. There are laws that govern how to seal up an infrastructure.
The National 5A side team, the futsal Eagles, have promised to give Nigerian fans something to cheer this weekend when they confront their Gabonese counterparts in the Futsal World Cup qualifier. The match, which comes up on Sunday inside the indoor sports hall of the National Institute for Sports, Lagos, will be the first test for the Oladuni Oyekale tutored side.
We are looking forward to getting a good team to play the match. You know, this game is not too popular in the country, so there's no pressure from any quarter.
Preparation is going very fine because the team is good, the players are good. We expect winning, something like from 5 goals up.
All right, that's Inside Nigeria. Kaakaki continues in a moment. When we come back, it will be time to go into our interview segments. And this particular edition is targeted at the ladies. And the men too, as Adora will say. All right, well, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Lesson 1.
Do you know that germs are tiny?
If it was you that lost your brother, would you do it?
Family ties, a thorn in the flesh.
To be seeing my daughter every day is not small money. Your
daughter, when he's concerned,
my pocket is never afraid. Oh, well, I will do everything.
Yeah, I don't like anything that has to do with jazz. It's like, come. You be like, say, hungry, never, why are you rich, Abby?
You know nothing about football, so there's no point again. Organize your cup and not your body. This one not the couple.
Oh, well, see, baby, it's not my money, oh.
Between 3 nurses and a doctor, find out what matters in Clinic Matters.
And I wonder what someone like you is doing in such a noble profession where so much courtesy is required. Can you attend to this woman?
Because the nurse who has the pilot just gone into prepare to test her temperature.
He's not planning to tell his wife until the other lady delivers. You're heartless.
Is this our business if your husband impregnates another woman?
The only problem I have is with people making silly and grave mistakes, especially in marriage. You are a nurse and not a marriage counselor.
A jealous man that doesn't like sharing some of my personal effects with anybody.
Women are now regarded as personal effects.
Plenty times over any of progress.
If my husband comes and say, make I no work, I go quickly fine.
Yes, it's Friday, wonderful Friday. Started off with rain, and we sure there's going to be a lot of goodness in today. And I don't know about you, I'm sure I feel the same way in spirit.
Yes, I feel the same way too. Remember, around here it is said that, rain is a sign of blessing. Of course, not when it destroys properties and destroys
No, not
lives.
at all, not at all.
But the kind of rain that we had this morning,
Yeah, it's refreshing.
All right, talking about refreshment and relaxation and beauty and makeup, you know, we said we're going to bring you the interview segment on that next. But however, a guest is still in view, and maybe not that will show. But however, if it doesn't come to power, we will definitely make a booking with the ladies for another segment on that issue. But you know how it is with beauty care and body. You know, it's for every woman, it's an essential.
It is an essential, and I dare say, you know, earlier I called you an expert, so I take that back. I called you an addict, you know, more like an addict. You do these things, you know, once in a while. You find time. I envy you, but anyway, I think that...
Are you going to chicken out of me now? Just about yesterday, this chick that is there talking all this grammar, you said, so I need to do my hair, I need to do my nails, I need to do this. Oh my God. Oh my
I'm
God.
just saying that, you know, the spa experience, the massage and all of that. Yes.
You should.
You know,
you should now.
Exactly. We all should.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we'll take sports business first.
Yes,
We'll come back and talk
about that. All right. Stay tuned.
Mm.
Stay tuned.
Another edition of Sport Business International. Sport Business, you understand, on our global network gives you the understanding that sport is not just a mere social service, but a mega business across the world. We provide so if only we can do it right in Nigeria. That's what we're doing. Ali Sport International pioneering this move in Nigeria, and we trust God that in a short while, this is what it will be. We'll take a break. We'll do come back. The Sport Business News. I'm Godwin Spiff Sabama. Welcome back to Sport Business News. Now, today we will be dedicating to our new sports that's coming to Nigeria. We've been talking about it. We've been profiling it for a long time now, and the men who are behind it are not giving it up yet until Nigerians get the DNA and get into their blood system. Why? It is highly productive, takes you to the pinnacle of your professional career, academically and of course, sportsmanly. But then that's not taking away the women as well. They have aspects to play. So while they are doing that across country, not many people are aware of the challenges they are facing there. This is challenges will catapult you to the peak of your desires. And when desires are strong, the determination to go through comes in. And once determination is infused in the system, results tumbles in, and success is what people see. So that's what you'll be seeing in the days to come. American football is in Nigeria already, and the process is on. The structures are being put in place. Do you like American football? You don't need to like it. Just like football, it will come your way. You get to understand the dimensions and the basics of it, and before you know it, like the Americans, it will catch on like a wildfire. And when it does do, football in Nigeria will have a good rival, and some of these deliberate, mysterious nonsense we build around football can begin to give way for other sports strong enough to give it a challenge. So in the days to come, watch out for this. More programs will be unveiled through Sport Business. As you know it, if it is coming in first, Sport Business gets it across to you. And finally, on the sport beats today, American football, of course, will have among with it school children. If you are not in school, don't expect to play this game. It has to be, you have to be in school because that is the structure. We don't want you to be dropouts and become useless to yourself at the end of your sports professional career. They want you to be able to manage your resources, which you have gained or garnered during your playing career. And when you do finish, you have the educational background, a sound mind and a sound body to be able to manage those resources and manage persons who are involved in the game or any other business for that matter. So, school, here we come. Across Nigeria, you get it. We'll take a break. We'll do come back. The executive guest segment today has from the United States of America. He's been there. He's seen it all. And he's telling Nigerian youth, this is the way to go. And whatever it will cost me to bring it across port to you, I sure will do. We'll be back. Hey.
Just the trail, the business in the sports. Sports business. X-ray the business in the sports.
Welcome back to the executive guest segment. Today we'll have a special, very special indeed. We've had him several times, but from different locations across Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have him in our studios today, live and direct. Amobi Okoye, a Nigerian who broke records, being drafted in the NFL, a record he broke since 1967, and of course academically too. His father wanting him to read medical, he wanted him to be a doctor, to go to Harvard and all that stuff, but he's got some other things coming his way. And today, hey, he's a celebrated Nigerian in the United States of American football icon, and of course a star that people like to stop and have his signature on their shirt and everywhere. It's good to have you back, Amobi.
Glad to be back, man. Glad to be in the studio and for the first time, and I enjoy doing international sports business.
All right.
Rally sports.
Yes. Let's have a little background of yours. Most Nigerians don't truly know you because the sports in which you play is not popular here.
Right. Yeah, I guess we got to do this again because we got to keep on educating them. But I'm a Nigerian. I was born here in Anambra, and I lived in Lagos till I was 12. And when I was 12, I moved to America in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, to continue my education. And at the midst of that, I found out about American football and started playing it. All because of a challenge from a friend and a coach, and also my parents wanted me to start doing some kind of extracurricular activity because I started becoming fatty bum bum. So from there, I just grew to love the game, all aspects of it. I saw the opportunity to get a scholarship and help my parents out with my education. I said, hey, it only makes sense to keep on striving to be the best, be good at it, since I've come to love the game. So while loving the game, I earned a scholarship to go play at the University of Louisville. My dad wanted me to go to the University of Harvard since they wanted me to come over there and play for them, amongst other schools also. But I decided to go to Louisville because of the academic program and also because of the athletic program. It felt like it was a total balance competition-wise in their own their conference, or the conference that they play in. And so after I got into college, I focused on my education, on graduating, and while doing that, I saw that I had an opportunity to play professionally, and I started striving towards that also and give it a shot. And the National Football League saw the potential in me, and therefore one of the clubs, Houston Texans, decided to pick me up, which I played 4 years there. And after that, we parted ways, and I went to Chicago Bears, and now I'm with Chicago, and I'm going on my 6th season. So I did 4 with Houston, 1 with Chicago, going on my 6th season now. I'm a free agent, and that's all the whole part of the sports business aspect of it. And so I should be knowing soon where my next club is going to be.
Okay. Now, before I move to the next question, there's something you talked about. Nigerians, I know they have picked that already, that you were growing fatty bobo, kind of, that's our local parlance language, and that makes you maybe very easy for the sports. Are you saying that someone with my frame cannot play American football?
No, definitely not saying that at all. There are people with your frame and even smaller that are playing American football. That's the beauty of American football. It makes my size and my build an athlete, and it makes your size and your build an athlete, because your roles are different than my roles, you know. And that's the beauty of it that I'm trying to popularize, because as you know, we've introduced it to Nigeria,
right,
we've introduced it to Africa, and now it's time to popularize it. And you know, just a message out there to these kids that keep on emailing me and emailing my foundation asking about American football. Please continue to do so. Don't lose any hope. I also want you to urge the government and urge society and urge the private sectors to buy into what we're trying to do, because it's a great way, positive way to steer the energy of our young men and also eventually our young women, because on a Friday night in America when games are played, the high school games, you have thousands and millions of men playing against each other, and you have another thousands that are cheering them on, which include the ladies, the band, the dance team. These are all things that, you know, keep our youth busy, and at the same time, the process of it is that you have to be with a C+ average to participate in any of these activities. So it urges our children and our kids to take education serious, on the incentive of being able to play and participate in academics, in athletics amongst each other. You see what I'm saying?
All right, let me quickly take you on this one, because you've been here for 5 times now?
5 times, 5 trips.
And it does look like Nigeria is dragging, and South Africa is sneaking in to take over.
Yes.
In this last trip of yours, you went to South Africa as well. How was the acceptance?
Acceptance was huge. Media-wise, they picked up on it and started blowing things up. The sports ministry, Minister of Sports, has engaged with us to start moving forward, and he said, hey, South Africa is not Nigeria. So, you know, if Nigeria wants to slow down things, please don't hesitate to, you know, further things with us. And the unique thing is that Africans are tied for the second leading nationality playing American football. So it's evident in our blood, it's evident it's meant for us as Africans to participate in it, and it's evident that it's meant to be in the continent of Africa being pursued here and practiced here. So it's up to Nigeria and up to South Africa, you know, what they want to do, and my job is just to help out as much as I can, and with endorsing it.
Fantastic. In the U.S., I know that they'll be driving hard to ensure that American football becomes an Olympic sport. And before a sport can become an Olympic sport, it has to be played in all the continents.
All continents.
So what is the support you're getting from America to bring American football into Africa?
A lot of support, in the sense of moral support. You know, they also want they're dependent on the continent of Africa's response also, and his acceptance to it, because soon as, you know, the countries and the continent embraces and grabs it like they should, the support is going to reach a much higher level, because American football wants to go globally, just like baseball and basketball and soccer. So it's a goal of American football, and it's waiting on the continent of Africa's to embrace it before that support skyrockets. But as of right now, the support is there.
Well, I know that you've been to Abuja, you've been to Delta State, you've been to Anambra, you've been to River State, Lagos, and other states. What has been the response of the kids from the schools?
Like I said earlier, emails, these kids that I've worked with, they constantly email us, like, with eagerness to continue. River State has urged, we're moving forward with a long-term goal. The next step now is acquiring an athletic director and a coach that will come down and reside in Nigeria. So River State has been more receptive and more ambitious than Lagos, who we've been to and done this camp 3 times, You know, Rivers was only done it once this past trip, and they're very eager to acquire a coach from the U.S. that will come and start coaching the high school, the 2 high schools that we're going to be working with.
Fantastic.
So as far as support financially, that has been tough.
I was going to ask, how have you been coping? How have you been?
I've been doing it on my own, man. I've been doing it on my own. A good, 95% of it has been done on my own, and I'm looking forward to the private sectors to start stepping up. Rivers government is starting to step up too. So hopefully, because this is a big tax. My foundation,
Changing Africa through education.
NGO is a small NGO, but with a big, huge project. And one individual can't do it on his own. So I can carry it as far as I can carry it, with my limited capacity. And just urge for people who see the vision and who see the future, not the now Nigerian factor.
Long-term plan.
To get on board. Yeah.
Okay, so in the next 2-3 years, what should Nigerians be expecting as we round off?
The goal is in the next 3 years to American football to be the #2 sport next to soccer, because we know soccer, football as we Nigerians call it, is always going to be #1. But American football can easily be #2 and give our young men another avenue to another sport to participate in, and also add more stuff for our girls to be a part of and be able to, with the band, with the cheerleading, with the dance team, to keep them with physical activity, Well,
I understand that you're coming back in June.
Yes.
What's happening in June?
I'm coming back in June to welcome the athletic director, coach, and assistant coach, the 2 coaches, the coaches that will be coming to reside down here. And I'll also be doing a fundraising gala to help me raise funds for this equipment. Because the thing about American football is, when you're looking at a fully dressed player, that's about $300 on them, from the helmet to the shoulder pads to the jersey to the pants to the cleats, to all those things. And that's just for the player. You also have the equipment that you have to buy for training: sleds, bags, cones.
Yeah.
Not even just cones, like so numerous things. You have the goalposts, all those things. And so,
and those heavy balls.
The balls. All those things we have to acquire from the U.S. and eventually within those 2 to 3 years, I want those things manufactured here. So that's the economical and the business aspect of American football, and how it can also create jobs for our community and for our increase and lift up our middle class. Because, we're going to start off with bringing things from the U.S., but eventually we'll manufacture them here in Nigeria.
Fantastic. Well, the other thing I want to ask before we round off is, what has been the support you're getting from the States, from your colleagues, players, and Nigerians residing there, and your immediate family?
My immediate family has always supported me from day one. From day one they are with me on every trip. Other than my older sister, who's, first she had occasions where she got married and she had a kid, and so she hasn't been able to come, but she'll probably be coming with us in June.
Okay.
Players have been supporting the way they can and with endorsing it. And, the last couple of years I've always come with at least one more African-American football, one more player, especially those of African descent. Unfortunately, on this past trip, due to the crisis in Nigeria that they've been hearing about since
Americans always
January.
We have no crisis.
Right. But you know me, I understand. I live here, so I'm still going to come. But when the U.S. Department, send out emails warning people to, notify them before they come to the U.S., kind of scarce for other players.
Before they come to Nigeria.
Right. But to me, I see this as a resourceful way of attacking those problems. If you have American football and you have athletics going on, our youth have a positive way to steer their energy instead of a negative way, or instead of an ideal way, which leads into a negative way.
That's right.
And so if I just sit down and don't do anything, then obviously they're going to be going into the negative. But if you do something, you have a way to drag them into the positive. So everybody can sit down and complain, but what are you doing to help it?
All right, finally, when the athletics director and the coach comes in, what are they going to be doing?
They're going to be working.
Immediate.
They're going to be working with a university and 2 schools.
Okay.
The high schools
in Rivers.
In Rivers and in Lagos. Eventually, whatever state steps up and pays the salary for these coaches, because this is a huge tax from there for them to do from the U.S. And so these coaches are going to, this athletic director and coach is going to be working with the kids. They're going to be educating the kids in the 2 high schools American football. They're going to be working with students in the university and these students are going to be earning credit hours for their degree in learning the different departments of American football, the coaching department. Those students who are going to become physical education coaches in the university, they can take courses with this athletic director about coaching and learn about coaching American football. Those who want to become general managers of clubs will be learning and studying under him in certain hours. Those who want to become trainers, those who want to become equipment managers, all these departments of American football that you can learn about during college. As an athletic director, he's going to be teaching you these things, and in turn, you're going to be helping the high schools and running the program.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Amobi Amos, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm sure when you do come back, we'll have a better time to, go a longer hug.
Definitely. I enjoy my time and looking forward to more segments and looking forward to more players coming on and, being on sports business.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back to round off.
Not just the trail, but the business in the sports. Sports business. X-raying the business in the sports.
Thank you for being there with us. Without you, we cannot be here. And next time on same station, Amobi Okoye obviously will be coming your way regularly as American football takes off and gains momentum in Nigeria. And I trust that all the young ones looking up to it, you've got a great future ahead of you. By the way, there are scholarship opportunities as well to go to the United States, be part of the game, and then do something special. So next time, we'll come your way again. This is Sport Business. Wishing you the best of the day. I'm Godwin Speaks Agbama, saying thank you and God bless.
Budgeting. Questions such as, do we need an NMPC in the first place, must be asked. My view, we don't.
He is the field officer. He has the responsibility to ensure all operations regarding arrest and all that is conducted in the usual manner.
Engaging emerging topical issues in the polity.
The mere fact that we pay for 24 million liters of petrol on a daily basis, which is shocking. And I think by now people should be resigning their appointment.
It's supposed to be a business, but it has become another arm of government, and it's also suffering from the malaise that have bedeviled government in Nigeria.
We want a good Nigeria.
People that are benefiting are the IOCs. Why? Because they have a tax regime, a royalty regime that was framed over 42 years ago.
Good ball in. Still with Morocco. Surely.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
Now listen. The law is now beyond argument that the effect of a nullification of a thing, not necessarily an election, the effect of nullification of a thing is to completely wipe out, obliterate, remove, undo erase or render it ineffective.
Why must Nigerians pay the crime that have been perpetrated by this cabal?
The Video Latino Show, BOS International.
It's Friday, and we'll interview segment for today. However, in the makeup sector, we will bring that forthcoming, maybe in the following course of the segment next week. But for now, we're still talking about the full subsidy probe, and this time we're talking about recommendations and thereof. Of course, we know that it's interesting as we have been seeing that topic subsequently in the past few days. Now, we have joining us in the studio this morning Chief Nkeruwem Atman, constitutional lawyer and human rights activist. You're welcome again.
Hello, Africa. Hello, Nigeria.
You're welcome.
Good to see you in that lovely dress.
Girl, you too. You look very good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good to have you again.
Thanks.
All right, so so much has been said. You know, of course, just yesterday the Minister of Justice did come out and say that Nigerians should be patient, that the reports of the reports submitted by the House on the probe, you know, there needs to be more work. Some agencies still need to do some more work, and then let all the agencies bring together their findings, come together and decide before any action can be taken. Now, of course, you know that again that a lot of these bodies have denied any wrongdoing in this probe, those who have been indicted. What do you think about it? Are these recommendations that the House has brought to the fore, are they in the ambit of the law?
Definitely, I have to agree with the Learned Attorney General 50% of the time.
Why?
Or giving 50%. But now, if you have a finding of the House of Representatives, which is the body, if you look at Section 4 of the Constitution and the powers given to the House of Representatives, we should not take the report of the House of Reps as just another report. Now, I agree with the AG that you still need to have a scenario where the law enforcement agencies with investigative powers, real investigative powers, not oversight functions, go through those reports and then admit the law and then admit to those reports before charges are filed. So to prevent the situation where you have charges filed in the morning and quash in the evening. To that extent, the AG is correct.
Okay.
Now, but we don't have the patience to wait forever. We don't have the patience. We are tired of waiting. Nigerians are tired of the corruption in the system. We want as many scapegoats as we can. And this president must know. He must know that the time to act, to show good leadership is now. This president must know that this is a golden opportunity for him to show that there's a political way to fight corruption. And he must start by cleaning our agents' table.
Okay,
clear out the board of the NNPC. They sat over that rot for like forever.
Okay.
You must clear out the rot in the NNPC, the rot in the PPRA, the rot is... Well, I love what he did about the accounting firms who were found to have colluded with marketers to inflate figures, the way they were booted out of the system.
So, in your opinion, in
my opinion, delay is dangerous.
All right, so prosecution of the indicted companies and firms.
2 weeks is sufficient for the EFCC and ICC to look at those files. We're talking about monies had and return. Money had, money that were transferred into accounts. We're not talking about things that we're still investigating, so to speak. Monies were paid. People received cash. People received dollars. There was an exit for those cash. Let's see how those monies, were spent. If you said you brought in X number of gallons of diesel or petrol or kerosene or H-code, let's see to which police stations you supplied them.
Okay, well, let's go back. I know you're a human rights activist, quite totally expressed. Now, she has said something about what Justice said, the Attorney General said. Yes, fine. Now, he's also made a statement about on calling the investigation process of the House of Rep a fact-finding process. Merely fact-finding process. So on that basis, you don't have to just rush in and take, action. And besides, they're still waiting for it to get to the hands of the executive. So the argument now is that the process, what are the processes of going through that investigation that the House of Rep did, and what guarantee is that the time that they have asked for will not be actually enough for them to take action?
If the House of Reps comes out with a finding, which finding I agree to be subjected to our normal, if you wish, will forgive my use of the word normal, investigative procedures. If you look at the ICPC Act, the ESC Act, and the Police Act, I think Section 4 of the Police Act, you don't need forever to go to the CBN and ask how much money did company A receive for Y number of trucks, if you will, forgive my use of the word. And it's easy to find out where this, the CBN government says something about 15 trucks, 15 tankers allegedly launched in the same war on the same day, and the bills were sent to him to pay. He said he's not going to pay, but this one is fraudulent. It's clear. It's clear that you couldn't have 15 of those vessels docked in that small wharf in the same day, on the same date, for X, billions. It's clear that we don't even have the vehicles on the road that consume that number of fuel, that liters, that percentage they are showing Nigerians. Where are the vehicles? Where are the vehicles? It's clear that people take money for the same truck 3 or 4 times. It's clear there were kickbacks and side bags and front bags and all manner of things.
But the FCC argues that they are still the arm of the law. The processes have to be followed and procedures. Being that they are waiting for a harmonized version of the findings before they can actually take action.
If you wait too long, the same crooks will use the same stolen money to go compromise those witnesses. If you wait too long, the same crooks will use the same stolen money to go make sure that exhibits are eliminated, files are missing, and then we'll back to the same square one. Delay is dangerous. This Attorney General should know. If you look at Section 174 of the Constitution, subparagraph 3, he must act in the public interest.
All right.
I agree with him. If you rush into a trial with inadequate facts, you crash.
Okay, but don't you think that the recommendations already found by the House Committee is enough to start a trial? The House has also recommended that NNPC and PPRA return 1 trillion naira to the coffers of the federal government. What I'm asking is, isn't the recommendations or the findings enough as we speak to begin prosecution?
No, let's talk our law now. Let's talk a bit of law now. If you look at the way our legislative system is structured, it is an adversarial process. It is not inquisitional. We are in an adversarial, prosecutorial arrangement. So you must have it cannot go to court with the finding of the House of Representatives. That finding will have to go to the law enforcement agencies, the police, the ICPC, the EFCC, and all of that. So it wouldn't take a zillion years for that to happen. That's my argument.
All right. But what the EFCC now? Now, does the House have the right to make the EFCC, implement the recommendations of the House? Is that under the ambit of the House, to enforce, to make sure that the EFCC...
Now again, we'll talk a bit of law. The House of Reps is an arm of government, the legislature. We operate a system that recognizes separation of powers. The House can recommend. The House cannot execute, so to speak. The CFC belongs to the executive arm of government. Now, you have to find a way. If you look at the constitutional way structured, you must balance these things to avoid people usurping the roles of some other arms of government. The House has done its job. Recognition was made to the President and the executive arm. The President, as head of the executive, must act through the Attorney General to ensure that relevant law enforcement agencies have these recommendations fine-tune them and file the charges. And they should file the charges tomorrow morning. Delay is dangerous.
Okay, but sorry, Dora, just before you ask that question, but can the House, I still need answer to that, can the House enforce in the implementation of its recommendations? Can it enforce it?
They cannot. They have no power. They have no power. The House, the major role of the House of Representatives and the Senate really is to make laws for the peace, order, and good government. Now, who implements the law? It is the executive that tests the law in the judiciary. That's how it works. That's how it works.
Okay, you're talking about the law, talking about delay is dangerous. Now let's look at it from the point of the Nigerian, and of course the Save Nigerian Group, and the statement that the, of course, Minister of Justice has said. He said, you know, the other way out for Nigerians always is to call for a strike or a protest, which is not in the best of the country right now. As he says it's a distraction. He says it will help make things worse, and of course drive whatever evidence or whoever wants to come out and speak into the pulpit. Now, my question is exactly, and I'm sure for so many Nigerians, is that the idea of actually calling for 2 extra weeks, which they know that will not be 2 weeks, might take longer or perhaps shorter, is a form of distraction. We look at the fair hearing that they want to give some of the companies that have been found wanting, and the what I call the portfolio boxes companies who have been found wanting, and Honorable Osai says, let's give them another fair hearing. Perhaps they don't have enough evidence, perhaps they don't have enough proof, so let's give them time to find facts. Now this statement by the justice. So a lot of people are saying that this is a form of distraction. Before you know it, this will be shoved and pushed under the carpet.
Let me say this. I'm not sure that 2 weeks is so long a time. It's a delicate, but there are two maxims in law. Delay defeats equity, and you must not sacrifice justice on the altar of expediency. Now, there are two conflicting, if you will forgive my use of the word, you know, you must balance. Well, if you are too fast,
you may miss out some facts.
Definitely. And then you get frivolous charges quashed by the judges, because the judges are not interested in what you read about in the newspapers. They are interested in what you bring to the table in the proof of evidence. The judges don't care what they read about in the newspapers. Now, if you are too slow, then, like I said a while ago, these guys will go compromise the witnesses, destroy evidence, and will go back to square one. And I want these guys in prison, all of them in prison. And those bodies returned to every kobo to the National Treasury.
Okay. So, now, as we stand, like Adora said, civil societies and the Save Nigeria Group came out and said, if the federal government, if the executive does not implement the recommendations of the House Committee, there's going to be a major protest, protest and strike actions.
I agree with that.
And they have said again that they're giving the federal government just 2 weeks to implement. You're saying now that 2 weeks is enough?
I think it's reasonable. 2 weeks is more than enough for them. But let me say something about strike, which I value human life. I value human life, but I love this country more. If you take 1 billion Nigerians to sacrifice their lives to make sure this country works, you see, I love this country more than I love my life. It's a delicate balance. Now, if you say to me that you're going to have a peaceful protest, I'll ask you how you're going to achieve that. Every time you said it's going to be a protest, we have loss of life. We have hoodlums taking over the system, hijacking the process. We have arson, we have rape, we have all manner of... We are going to have Boko Haram, for instance. Drop a bomb in the crowd of 100. You are going to have mass burial. My problem with protest is that it turns into riots. Not because the guys who are there have a hidden agenda, but because some people, for political reasons, are prepared to use up the process for their selfish interest.
But you would agree that that is the only means available to the common man.
There are no peaceful riots anywhere in the world.
But it's the only option, because how else can they air their voices?
You are free to go on riots.
Not riots now. Protest.
You are free to leave your house to go on a peaceful protest.
Exactly.
But you will end up in the evening as a corpse in the morgue. But if I leave, look, I've been part of every protest since the June 12 crisis. I've been part of every protest. But if I leave my house for a protest, I know I may not go back home.
But you know that it also depends on the arm of law and the security agents and how they handle it.
You do not have the manpower to protect even the banks. You do not have the manpower to protect the prisons. Our prisons are sitting, the law courts are sitting targets. We have reached a level that we make Afghanistan and Iraq seem like child's play. Far as I'm concerned, this country is at war. Far as I'm concerned, we are at war.
When people use the mode for peaceful demonstration,
you're not going to have, last year, there were London riots. You don't have a police more efficient than the London police. They couldn't control it. Shops were razed to the ground.
I think those are two different situations.
You must be able to know if you have a scenario, if you are going to have enough police protection, and people can march peacefully. My advice has always been, if you want to protest, let it be a sit-in. Workers can sit at home. It is safer to sit at home than for one human life to be lost.
All right, let's not digress too far from what
is very important, because I support the NLC to go on protest.
The Nigerians.
But my advice is that it should be a sit-in at home.
Okay.
Don't take people on the street because you risk danger of not being able to control them.
All right. Okay, let's come back to our topic. Let's look at the auditing firms that have been indicted, in this whole saga. Two major Nigerian auditing firms have been indicted. Now, what should they be held liable for the importation of fuel by unregistered, I repeat again, unregistered companies? Because they were not the ones that gave this contract to these companies. It's the federal government, but should they be held liable for the mistakes made by those companies?
The doctrine of vicarious liability in crime is unknown to our jurisprudence. There used to be a time that if you're looking for a son, they arrest the mother and wait for the boy. Now, that is illegal, it's unconstitutional, it's everything bad under the sun. It's about everything, against everything I stand for. Vicarious liability does not reside within the ambit of our criminal jurisprudence. It is not there. Nobody can be criminal liable for some other person's offense. Now. But if you are a member of a panel that negligently and fraudulently doctored a list to include names you know does not exist, those auditing firms, if they are found guilty, they should not be allowed to practice anywhere. What they did is worse than a doctor deliberately killing a patient on the operation table.
Well, some people argue that, however, procedures must be followed, because if the arm of the government have employed these people, or rather contracted these people for consultancy, then you should be looking at the people who contracted this out to these bodies, and that is where the argument is coming from.
And also the fact
when you call yourself an auditing firm, call yourself an auditing firm, what you're saying, you are holding out yourself that you have the professional competence that if I send you a document, you are going to let it pass through the grill and come out clean. Do you understand?
Okay.
Now, if I fail in that duty so woefully, I should lose my license.
Okay, let's look at the reports, okay, and let's look at it from the people's. Of course, the rumors. Some say the doctor. What is the doctored version of the report? That is the transparency of the report that has been given by the House of Reps. It's not as well. It is opaque and not as transparent as it should be. What should be the case? Because that is.
Again, please.
The EFCC is asking for a harmonized version of the report, meaning yes, meaning that they want to get all the investigations and facts right. Now, some argue that perhaps there is a possibility that the report is doctored or manipulated.
Let me try one shot at the EFCC. The EFCC is riddled with corruption, top to bottom. If they are angry, they should file a case against me. The EFCC from top to bottom is riddled with corruption. The chairman said so. Because of that, you're going to have a scenario, like what I said a while ago, that delay is dangerous. The more we delay, the more people will find out where our files been passed to. Who is that man? Which team is handling our files? Who is the head of that team? Where is his family? How do we get to his wife? Money will exchange hands. Investigators should be compromised. I have a matter that the SSS did investigation and sent the file to the EFC to prosecute 3 years ago. 3 years. Those guys are not prosecuted.
All right, let's digress a little. Thank you very much.
It's not a digression. This is very important. You must have an anti-corruption agency that is true to its word. That has the will to prosecute. Otherwise, we are in the same.
All right, Mr. Hassan, just before we go, you know, what is your assessment then of these companies who have headed to court, some of the indicted firms who have headed to court insisting that they know nothing?
They have a right to go to court. The judges have a right also to look at the approval evidence and send them to Kuje prisons. I would like to leave it at that.
All right, we'll leave it at that as well.
And I think you actually said something. You said the late court does not amount to equity when it comes to equity.
Yes, we also say that you do not sacrifice justice on the altar of expediency. Delicate balance.
Quite quoted by a professional and a human rights activist. We've had, of course, Chief Nkeru Wem Atman, constitutional lawyer and human rights activist, come to join us this morning. We're talking about the first up-to-date probe and the recommendations thereof. All right, so that's what we can take here on the interview segment this morning. But Kaakaki is still very much in view, and we'll be right back after this time out. Stay with us.
The Governor of Rivers State, Right Honorable Chibike Roti.
The end of the legal year, the beginning of the legal year, there is period also for sober reflections.
We have signed into law several legislations whose implementation will help us provide the service delivery that you expect of us and raise the standard of life.
The Bisi Olakilo Show, BOS International.
I'll give you all the finest things in life. You are the angel of my life, the love of my life. I love my baby, that's my baby, I will kiss my baby back.
Words all over the world have made the Bisi Olakilo Show, BOS International, the first choice in their TV dials every week. The Bisi Olakilo Show, BOS International.
Staying with us, prosecutors in the trial of former Liberian President Charles Taylor have said he should be handed an 80-year sentence following his war crimes conviction.
With TA, it's refresh and ridiculously hilarious.
Say with me, the
crimes he committed warranted the long-term sentence. The 64-year-old was found guilty on 11 counts, including rape and murder relating to the Sierra Leone civil war. He will be sentenced on the 30th of May. The European Union has imposed targeted sanctions on 6 school leaders in the West African country of Guinea-Bissau. They include a freeze on assets and a travel ban on the leader who took part in a 12th April coup. The move comes as the West African regional bloc ECOWAS meets in Senegal to discuss what other actions to take against junta leaders in Guinea-Bissau and Mali. ECOWAS had already imposed sanctions on Guinea-Bissau earlier this week. The country has seen many coups since independence from Portugal in 1974. Sudan has promised to cease hostilities with South Sudan and comply with the UN Security Council resolution. However, the Foreign Ministry also said that Khartoum reserved the right to respond to aggression from the South. The statement came hours after Juba alleged fresh bombing by the Khartoum government's forces. A UN resolution on Wednesday backed an African Union plan demanding both sides cease hostilities amid fears of an all-out war between the neighbors. Egypt's ruling military council has insisted it is committed to handing over power to civilian rule by the end of next month. It said international monitors from 45 countries will be invited to observe presidential elections. The Supreme Council of the Armed Forces, CAF, said it deeply regretted the deaths of protesters on Wednesday. At least 20 people died in Cairo as they demonstrated against the barring of a candidate from the polls.
Kenya's Prime Minister Raila Odinga has warned that the emergence of ethnically based political groups could spell doom in elections due next year. Odinga joined a coalition government with his rival President Mwai Kibaki to help end violence after the 2007 poll when more than 1,200 people died. But he said the coalition had helped bring in reforms. In the weeks of political unrest following the December 2007 election, some 600,000 people were also forced to flee their homes. Zimbabwean prosecutors have dropped charges against 3 women arrested in connection with male rapes. They were charged last year with 17 counts of aggravated indecent assault, as Zimbabwean law does not recognize the act of a woman raping a man. Officials say at least 2 of them will face charges of prostitution instead. Police believe there is a nationwide syndicate of women raping men, possibly to use their semen for use in rituals that claim to make people wealthy. And that's an African World. Kaakaki B African Voice continues when we come back. Do stay with us.
kashe wani babu shakka azaba mai tsanani na jiransa ranar tashin kiyama tare da fushin ubangiji Allah madaukakin sarki.
Pitch online, and the best one chosen each week is shortlisted to win £100 every month.
Motivating.
Let's find one person I would like to say.
Entertaining. Inspiring.
Honestly, you look like you're really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I write, and I write poetry. I used to write poetry.
And sensational.
Why do men cheat?
Celebrities and ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Moments with Mo. Inspiring Africa.
Nowhere. It's just a bunch of prejudices about the different communities, but nothing substantial about the cause of the conflict.
It is becoming expensive to have you there.
If it was you that...
Of course, this is Kaakaki B African Voice. If you're just joining us, well, you're right on time because we're about to take people, events, and places. Well, it's your weekly social diary, and in today's package, we'll be witnessing a fantastic, a wonderful celebration of love, and also the 40th birthday celebration of an anointed man of God. Your girl Maya Nwachukwu brings you all the details. For staying with us, it is my pleasure to bring you another package of people, events, and places PEP, our every Friday rendezvous. My name is Mania Nwachku. On the lineup this morning, you will share in the joy of a birthday bash and a wedding ceremony, all held here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Couples have been admonished to always see themselves as one in every aspect of their lives rather than competing with themselves. That will later lead to intimidation and rancor in marriages. As Belsuk Irene Tabgun and Osezimite Samuel Ali Kemena were joined in holy matrimony in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, last weekend, people, events, and places captured the glam, glaze, and interesting highlights of the wedding. Families, friends, colleagues, and well-wishers converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to witness the colorful wedding ceremony of Belsuk Irene Tabgun and Sazimite Samuel Alimikena, which started on a high note with the traditional marriage rites.
So please, can we give you a big round of applause, please?
Without mincing words, the union between Belsuk and Osezimite is a mixed blessing as the people of Plateau and Edo came together to share this memorable day. At the church, it was time to register vows and exchange of marital rings to seal up the union. The reception venue was electrifying as many couldn't conceal their joy and happiness for the couple, including the governor of Edo State, Comrade Adams Oshomole. Parents, friends, and well-wishers have these words of advice for the couple.
Man, let them just, love each other and stay strong together. It's a very nice thing to see young people getting married. It's such a beautiful ceremony, and Belsuk is a very good friend of mine, so congrats to her.
I'll advise the two of them that they've taken their life for themselves, and they should know how to manage it. Nobody should come in to manage it for them. They will do it themselves. And they can't do it if they are not patient with one another. And these patients can only come if they pray hard to God to give them the heart to be patient with one another.
They should live together, learn to trust each other, be open to one another, trust God all the time, make God, the love of God, the center of their home, and everything shall be well with them in Jesus' name.
They should live well, they love themselves, be happy with each other. That's peace.
Think about the memories you guys have had, everything that has led to this day. That's all you need to think about. And whatever happens, communication is the key for both of you. Communicate, communicate, communicate.
My advice for the couple is patience, because that is the watchword. Patience and prayers. Once they can combine the two together, they are good to go.
For the couple, this is our day. All right, what is next?
What is it? Congratulations to me. all occasions. This is your first occasion. Wow. To celebrate. Oh. All is right. To say, okay. This is my oh. Let us make okay, let's have down to all right. To say.
I feel overwhelmed. What can I say? Words can I actually choose my words? I just thank God for everything. That's it. I have a beautiful wife. What more can a man ask for?
I'm happy, I'm excited, glad the hard part is over.
'Birthdays are always our very special days to be celebrated with families, loved ones, friends, colleagues, and well-wishers. So it was for Pastor Peter Olumide Balogun, who clocked 40 years during the week in Abuja, the Nigerian capital. People, events, and places that brings you interesting highlights of the birthday bash. Happy cheers to Pastor Peter Balogun, a man who has touched many lives in more than one way. 40 years is the old age of, and of course, as the saying goes, life begins at 40.
Yes, I believe greater life begins at 40. Oh, I feel good. I feel the life of God in me. I know that the future is wide. I know that there is a lot to do in the future. But I believe the strength of God will carry me through.
There was so much on the lineup to celebrate an icon of our time. For his family, he is a rare gem.
I remember our lowly beginnings. I remember when we came together, and I remember our lowly state. And then 40 used to look so far, but somehow today my husband is there, and so I'm so glad. I give God all the glory.
It feels great, and I always feel blessed because it's very good to be in a family like this that God has chosen, because I know that there will be better things for me in the future. I want to wish him the best of luck and more anointing from God, and that he shall live long. I feel happy, I feel blessed, I feel excited. I just can't describe it. I wish that God will grant him long life and prosperity. He will fulfill his destiny. He will not die before his age, and that his wish for his family will come to pass.
To some guests who say Pastor Peter Olumide Balogun deserves every beautiful thing in life, and these are their wishes and prayer for him.
On behalf of myself, my family, I feel very delighted that we're here to celebrate his 40th birthday. A very courageous gentleman, man of God, who has been very helpful and encouraging people to network with the work of God. I wish him all the best, and I believe very strongly that God is using him. So all we continue to say is that God continue to use him in building more of his sanctuary across the world.
I wish him many more years on earth. He's been a very wonderful man of God, spirit-filled, and God is really using him. I wish him all he wishes himself and many more.
A 40th birthday is a wonderful time in life to celebrate how far you've come and all the life you've experienced. It is a reminder of all you have accomplished and also what you wish to accomplish.
At 40, I wish I thank God's best for my life. I wish to fulfill God's purpose in my life. And I thank God because, though I'm not there yet, but I believe God is taking me there.
The celebration was full of fun, excitement, and merrymaking as guests were treated to a variety of sumptuous meals. Congratulations, sir, and many happy returns. May you live long to continue the great works in humanity. Oh yes, we need to celebrate good times, especially our birthdays. And on that lovely note, we close shop on people, events, and places prepped for this Friday. Do join me again next week for a fresh package. I am Mania Nwachiku, wishing you a very beautiful weekend. Kaakaki, the African voice, continues in a moment. Stay with us.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
A very good morning to you. This is Kaakaki, the African voice, and of course you know that it's Friday today, and I'm sure a lot of people are excited with the rain coming in, and it's a sign of good things to come. But let's go and see what good things the newspapers have brought us this morning. I'll start with Leadership newspaper, and let's go. It says gunman kills 56 in Yobe, which was seen thriving inside Nigeria earlier on. It says don't succumb to terror, EU tells Nigeria, as one of the riders following with we will overcome security challenge, IGP, Inspector General of Police. And negotiation, Dati Ahmed lied, Jonathan Scribe says, and Northwest governors hold crucial meeting in Kaduna. And of course, this is the government killing 56 people in Yobe is coming barely 24 hours after a former Minister of Defense, General Theophilus Danjuma, tagged Yobe as a failed state. And that is what is actually going on, and it happened in Potchefstroom in Yobe State, where 56 people have been rumored to die. And okay, we see above that masthead Aliyu Monsef's indigenous chief of air staff, which is another major story. Governor of Niger State, Dr. Miles Babangida Aliyu, of course, is commiserated with the family of the chief of air staff, Air Vice Marshal John Madu Yisa Doko, and that is Leadership newspaper. Over to National Mirror. National Mirror is talking about that poll that happened in Yobe State. 56 killed in Yobe market attack. Rep says tax NSA, Armed Forces and Security. And of course, it's still talking about the cattle market where which was raided by suspected Boko Haram members. But they say that toll keeps taking shape because it was rumored 56, and as of this morning it came up to 60 in number. We have a masthead below that major headline story. Federal government will deal with subsidy fraud that says Minister, and Rider says reps, NLC, TUC to back implementation of reports. And you will find that on page 2 of the National Mirror. Of course, National Mirror, again, on your local newspaper vendors. You can get the newspapers. Now we go to People's Daily. People's Daily talking about, we're still going back to Yobe State and talking about the number of people who have been killed. Say 60 here in Potchefstroom, revenge attack, they call it. Some say it's a reprisal of attack, which was twatted earlier the day in the afternoon when they went to rob the cattle markets and were unsuccessful with 2 of their members killed. And so they came back at night to actually attack and made away with 60 lives. lives. But some people argue that it could be the suspected sect who have launched their attacks, again, considering the use of explosives. And below that, on headlines there, we have federal government still captures to frame me, alleges Oka, and that is what is coming on the men case. Of course, we know that the movement for the emancipation of Niger Delta is the meaning of men. The leader, Henry Oka, has accused, of course, says the federal government made up evidence to nail him, which they say they will both see each other in court. Now, National Accord, well, taking it differently, now is going to the story of Okonjo Iweala. So the federal government will punish subsidy cheats, says Okonjo Iweala. And of course, we know that is the coordinating minister for the economy and the minister of finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who yesterday warned that all those indicted in the full subsidy probe championed by the House of Rep will not be spared in order to avoid the regime of impunity in the Nigerian polity. Well, we have below that, we have Jonathan to sack 20 ministers is another thriving headline story. It says, I am Desiani Azazi may go, which is what has been rumored. But, well, people are worried by the welfare of criticisms that have so far trailed his close to one-year regime, of course, of President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. And he's said to have made up his mind to carry out massive cabinet reshuffle, and which may see as many as 20 ministers go. But let's see what happens. If you want more inside story, please continue on page 2 of the National Accord. And National Accord still brings you the story of the dead in Yobe State, counting at 50 at the Potiskum clash. Now we move over to the Road newspaper. Federal government Boko Haram talks. Well, you see that happening anytime soon. Tucker raps Dati Ahmed and says, of course, is the principal private secretary to the president's ambassador, as Tucker has refuted allegations, of course, by Dr. Ibrahim Dati Ahmed of the Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria, that last March's planned negotiations with Boko Haram was botched by him. And that is what is going on. You can see an inside picture of Hassan Choko and Dati Ahmed there. And, of course, see the two men, one looking with a smile on his face, the other apprehensive and almost angry. Well, these is left to you to actually depict the expression on both faces. But if you want more inside stories, continued on page 4 of the Road newspaper. And we have opposite that picture in the red insert box. CCNN trains 100 youths in Sokoto. Managing director of the cement company of Northern, of course, company, Mr. Alf Kasmin, said the company trained 100 youths under a skill acquisition scheme worth with over 36 million naira. Talking about the privation. But anyway, that is what is making the headline stories for the Road newspaper. And just interestingly, above the masthead, we have KNSG approves 50 million naira for mass wedding for widows and divorces. You know, we told you could run over and, of course, canon if you haven't got a bride. But anyway, seems that it's getting even more interesting as money and, of course, sponsorship is being meted out to those who are interested. And then they endorsed the execution of the first phase of a pilot scheme involving 100 out of a 1,000 Max women in fulfillment, of course, of his commitment to the wedding of widows and divorcees under a scheme tagged Zawarawa marriage scheme. And I wonder what that translates in the house. I think you better read to find it. Don't trust me on that one. It's continued on page 4 of the Road newspaper, and, of course, that is what we have for you this morning on the newspaper review. Stay tuned. Kaakaki continues in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Explore Africa.
Encounter Africa.
Engage Africa.
Enjoy Africa's compelling,
exciting,
and breathtaking
experience
with Kaakaki,
the African voice.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. You did notice that Adama was not around today and we couldn't talk about health. But however, there's something even under health too, I guess. Okay. A healthy habit that you can build up, and that's what we talked about earlier. About massages, spa, going to the spa. What really does it do for the health at all?
I think, first of all, the original idea of a spa, it's a mineral spring where people go, where it started in Jerusalem, and just have a deep bath that cleanses in an area and a result of peace. But these days, with technology and, money and all of that, you have 3 types of spa. You have destination spa, you have daily spa, and you have the holiday spa. Destination spa is the one that you go every day probably to have a massage, maybe aromatherapy, Moroccan scrub, Turkish bath, or maybe even a mud bath.
Okay, now I feel like I'm interviewing. I called you an addict, I beg your pardon, and now you are like...
I think a mud bath is like a pool of mud, and it has certain treatments to it.
I've seen that a few times, and I've heard a few women talk about it. What does it do?
Actually,
mud.
It actually exfoliates your skin and cools the upper surfaces of your skin. And after that, you get a Moroccan scrub, which actually what it does is that it has a lot of jasmine oils, and by the time you come out, you the one I was going to recommend to you, that was that with the gold facials, and by the time
gold.
Yes, it has filters of gold dust. And when you use it, you look like a newborn baby and ready to be taken.
Now, I'll leave that ready to be taken for another day. Now,
taken to events and dinners and restaurants.
Talking about, all of this spa, mud bath, gold.
Yes, filters. There's even the one that called the placenta refills. What happens? They inject placentas through the skin, and some people say this is gory. And what it does, it rejuvenates your skin and clears all the black patches on your knees, on your elbows.
Now, all this sound like it's just skin deep. Yeah. Does it have anything to do with the internal body? Does it help, maybe your mentality or your psychology at the moment? Does it help relieve stress?
Of course.